Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Sunday, May 16th, 2021. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an angel therapy practitioner, Reiki master, intuitive guide, empowerment coach, and I'm here every Sunday morning on Lotta's channel with angels and astrology. So what we're going to do here today is look at some of the transits and then do readings on the angels' advice for traversing the transits. So that's where I'm going. Just going to make sure. Is everybody there? Can someone say hi to me and let me know that you're in the chat? Hello? I don't see anybody just yet. I don't know why. Seems odd. Let's look here. What's going on? I've lost the chat altogether. Anybody there? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes, you can hear me. Oh, wait, there we go. All right, let's see. Oh, that's not helping me. I can't see the chat. Is anybody, if somebody's been typing in the chat, can you give me a thumbs up? I don't know why I can't see the chat. Okay, I see a thumbs up. So I'm going to assume you can hear me and continue on. I don't know why I can't even type into the chat. I'm going to, I don't know what to do. Should I start the stream over? That's what I'm wondering. Or should I soldier on? I don't know what to do. I'm going to look at my phone real quick. I think I might have been getting a text. Okay, that was Juan saying you see me. So I'm going to soldier on. And you can hear me. Okay, so here we go, guys. Oh, and my hair's falling apart. So this is just a really great day. All right, so here we go. The sun has entered Pisces. I'm sorry, that's so silly. Pisces, Jupiter entered Pisces. Oh my goodness, my brain. Entered Pisces earlier this week. This is a wonderful energy to start the coming week with. Jupiter is the ancient ruler of Pisces, so we're going to feel a lot of pull towards art, towards music, towards spirituality. Tomorrow the sun will trine Pluto, and this is really going to be a very powerful aspect for digging deep into what you want and how you want to project yourself out into the world. The beginning of the week is easier than as the week progresses. We also have on 19th, Venus is going to trine Saturn. The first thing I thought of when I saw that is a stability in the money aspect of our lives, in feeling a sense of security moving forward with our money. And then we have what I think is one of two of the most powerful aspects coming up is Mercury is going to be squaring Neptune. And this is going to go on for a little bit. Because Mercury is going to go retrograde. So what I want to offer is, Mercury is our thought process. Neptune can be erosive in its lower energies. It can be murky. It can be deceptive. And, it kind of feels like those lies of omission where you don't actually lie to someone's face, but you leave out important information. So I want to offer this as we go through this transit is to really dig deep into your heart. And if for some reason something sounds too good to be true, or you intuitively feel something is not right, then take a pause and allow the universe and spirit to bring more information to the forefront before making a decision. Mercury is going to be in Gemini. So while it's in its natural sign, there's going to feel like this push-pull of the twins, sort of this wanting to move forward and wanting to move back or wanting to be cautious. And then the idea of Neptune being in a water sign of Pisces makes me feel like there's this swimming through murky waters. It could even be a bit of this feeling of being submerged and you're trying to come to the top. And I want to offer it this way, because when we are in the ocean and the waters are churning, when we surrender to the environment, our bodies naturally bring us to the top. So this is what I think is really important moving forward over the next few weeks. I didn't actually get a chance to see how long this square is going to take place. But again, in order to use this energy to your highest vibration, I would play in the arts. I would allow myself to use my dream time, pay attention to my dream time. You may find your consciousness less resistant. So spirit may give you messages that seem contrary to what you want to do. And I want to offer this too, because if you've wanted to move your story forward and the opportunity to move the story forward comes into play, but still something feels off, let yourself give it a pause so that the universe can bring in some sort of confirmation of moving forward. We also have on the 23rd, Saturn is going to go retrograde, which means Saturn is stationing right now. Mercury is also stationing, but Saturn being an outer planet, being one that represents limitation, oppression, depression. And as it is in a loose square with Uranus, I think it's just a few degrees off of a tight square, it's the theme of 2021. So we add the square of Neptune, bringing this murky idea to my communications, to what I'm reading, to what I'm hearing, to what I'm maybe even speaking. I may find my own communications feeling a little murky, or I think that I'm being very clear in my communications, and yet the other person is not receiving it with any clarity. So a little bit of patience in that respect. And then the square that Saturn is going to be making in Aquarius to Uranus in Taurus is this idea of earth and air. My mind and my physical sense is experiencing something. And rather than thinking of this square as wanting to be explosive or make me a nervous wreck, or, Uranus in its lower energies is kind of like a nervous breakdown. And so rather than feeling this idea of letting my nerves get to me, what are my nerves trying to tell me in the way of, rather than feeling anxious, slowing down like Saturn would ask, and then observing the situation again so that information can come through. I feel like this is a really important time to connect to our team, our heavenly team, so they can help bring clarity during a murky time and during the restructuring that we're going through as humans. We don't, I watch a lot of history. I talk a lot about that in the previous videos, and I kind of want to put it this way. Whether you're aware of it or not right now, even though there may feel like a lot of the world is crazy right now, there's more freedoms than we've ever experienced as humans. And this further breaking away of oppression in the ideas that we have or in the philosophies we've perpetrated, because we're coming up on a lunar eclipse, and that's going to be in Sagittarius. And Sagittarius rules philosophy, it rules our beliefs, it rules religion, it rules foreign travel, foreign places, foreign ideas. So there's all this, what feels like this tee up of these transits coming through that are offering us opportunities, rather than to feel like we're a victim of those, like we're standing and the tidal wave is hitting us. It's more about how do we want to maneuver during this time. And the human will naturally want to move forward to try to stay ahead of it. And maybe the idea is not about staying ahead of it, but sidestepping it and using these squares of Mercury and Neptune, the square between Uranus and Saturn, as a way to build a foundation. And realizing that when I step back from my action and I really assess Mercury, my being energy, my beliefs, my thoughts, what am I reading? What am I speaking? Because we oftentimes as humans think that we're being positive, and our our talk and our thought is really focused in on situations. So we become almost like a newscaster, explaining to our friends and our family, oh, this is what happened, and this was the block here, and this was the traffic, and this was what the boss said that put me in a bad place. And we think we're communicating a situation, and that what we're doing is actually adding to the vibration. And so we're more invested in the problem than the solution. So that's what I think Mercury is giving us an opportunity to do while it sits in Gemini, squaring Neptune in Pisces, to really sort of sit back and what do I really believe about what I want moving forward? And what can I use as that Pisces 12th house of a little bit of reflection and isolation, and the lower energies or the more challenging energies of the 12th house are what is behind me that I cannot see with my physical eyes. So I have to feel it with my heart. So that's where I'm going. And all of this gives us an opportunity to tee up this lunar eclipse that's going to be happening next week at the end of the month, the 26th for the lunar eclipse. And I go lunar because there's my emotions again. And I want to dig a little deeper into the idea of the moon, because as I've been studying these or listening to these science shows, the moon represents the mother energy. It represents our intuition. It rules the waters of the earth. It also has within its core this electromagnetic field which protects the Earth's orbit from asteroids and from comets and from things pummeling us. And we don't talk about that a lot, but there is this true north within our emotional body that will protect us from what we see with our eyes that we think is good, if we would only listen to what's happening on the interior versus the exterior. So that's where I think the opportunities are for deciphering and for intentional creation. We're always creating, whether we realize it or not. And sometimes I'll tell you, I'm going through a situation where I've been co-creating within my home environment, and I don't know how I'm drawing these things in, but all I can do is, rather than try to figure out how I'm drawing in these challenging experiences, I get the opportunity to shift and say, how do I want to swim through them? Because I've got Pluto squaring my sun in a loose square. I've got a tight, exact square of my ascendant, and it is going to square my Mars. All of those things are very, on some level, frightening, because Pluto represents death. Pluto represents what is beneath the surface. And I have chosen to look at these things as very liberating and transformational, and to, rather than look at what is going to happen to me, how can I co-create at the highest vibration of what Pluto has to offer me? So as you look at your own natal chart, and what do these transits, how are they affecting those planets? And then taking it a step further, how is it triggering the aspects within your chart? I have Uranus floating around my moon in addition to Pluto. So that is triggering 2 grand trines. So I have challenging aspects and I have favorable aspects all happening at the same time. And I think that's where my opportunity to focus comes into play, and to nurture the trines so that they can help the squares create a new foundation and a new platform for my life moving forward. All right. So that's what I have to say about the transits. I can't see any of your comments. I can't see any of your chat, but I do hope you are chatting with each other. I hope that you're interacting as usual. So I'm just going to say that, and I'm going to start with Pisces and move my way through the signs. So this is for Pisces, rising, moon. I say moon second because I absolutely am 100% convinced that we manifest on our emotions. If we feel like crap, it's very difficult, if not almost impossible, to manifest abundance and higher vibrational dynamics. So I really want to offer that. Next, I go to the sun. And if you have a stellium in one house or sign, I think that's very significant to your life path, and pay attention to that. And I also want to offer it this way, because if you pay attention to, I'm an Aries rising in the first house. My second house is Taurus. So as I look through the zodiac and I look at what's happening, when I look at the landscape, the house representing the landscape. So for me, Everything is in its natural order. So Pisces is my 12th house, Gemini is my 3rd house. And as they create this square, I get to really look at what the landscape of my community and my 12th house, what's behind me, how can reflection serve me? So use the houses as well when you're looking at this. I think putting these puzzle pieces together will tell a more clear story for you, especially if you're going through challenging aspects. All right, Pisces, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Here we go. Giving it a good shuffle. All right, here we go. Pisces, our first angel is Crystal. The second is Serena. The third is Merlina. And the final is Indriel. As I first started to pull this, I thought to myself, oh, Pisces, your ancient ruler Jupiter is at 0 degrees Pisces right now. And it's going to spend a little time in Pisces, next, I think 6 to 8 weeks in Pisces. And that really offers a lot of balance with these other dynamics that are going on, meaning the squares. All right. Crystal is being joined by the restriction card, which I'm going to look at as Saturn. Serena is being joined by Merlin. Merlina is being joined by the Fire Fairy, and Indriel is being joined by the Earth Fairy, which very much feels like a strong dynamic. So this is what I want to say. Saturn in its most challenging energy is dry, it is limited, it is oppressive, it's really very stoic and does not ask how I feel about anything. And it really just wants me to work hard and to be diligent and to be committed to my endeavors. So what I think at this moment in time for Pisces, Pisces being the natural 12th house, is to sit in the unknown. Crystal says, have faith and hope because there's more on the horizon that you can't see. And Saturn transformed for me is where I just change lanes. Instead of working at something that is somebody else's idea of what will make me happy, I start to take Saturn's energy of discipline and of stoic, moving beyond my results. Saturn is asking me to work hard regardless of what I see in the way of results. For Pisces, this is about digging deep into the idea that I am a spiritual being by nature. I'm ruled by spiritual dynamics. And in doing so, it's time for me to sort of take a pause and really reflect on the idea of what makes me feel abundant. And I want to say this because this feels like Serena is talking about money for Pisces. We know that Venus is trining Saturn this week on the 19th. That's going to last for a little bit. So this is an opportunity as you go through this sort of pressurized, and yet Merlin represents justice, represents balance, represents alchemy. And a lot of how your money is going to come through is in chart. It's almost like a momentum that's already been created. And it's time to sit back and start to think, I've been doing the work, and now it's time to implement the laws of allowing that abundance to come in. Because the angels are telling you, you may not see how this money is going to come in. And your job is to sit in the idea of, I have been actually momentum-wise sitting in a place. Venus rules our money. Yes, it rules women, but it also rules our possessions. It rules our pleasures. And Saturn, to me, is not asking us not to enjoy ourselves. Saturn is just asking us to do the hard work. And if we pick the lane that we enjoy, then Saturn is going to give us long-term rewards. So what I believe is this is about, if you're worried about money, if you're worried about a job, if you're worried about your resources and your abundance, then you have an opportunity to, rather than to contemplate all the scenarios that would make you vulnerable. It's now contemplating all the scenarios that will make you empowered by this dynamic. And this is really, again, here's our connection to the angelic realm. I believe that Indriel, representing the light worker, are people who are in touch with the light within themselves, and they are bringing it into a more stable and grounded place on this earth. So I believe we are in revolutionary times right now. We may not be at, literally in a civil war or in a revolutionary war, but within our structures, we are in some sort of breakdown to rebuild. And it may feel like the world is crazy right now, but anytime we go through growth, the breaking of the way of the old, even if it feels scary, like I don't like this, but at least I know it's paying my bills. And now I'm in an energy where I don't have that oppressive old thing to let me know I'm paying my bills. And I have to step into an energy that feels more exciting to me, but yet the material results may not be there yet. And if you're willing to sit in that energy and continue to invite in your abundance, I believe you're going to start to see yourself get some traction. And that might be where this eclipse kicks in and starts to really let you see that in the material world and start to feel it in your emotional body. All right, let's go on to our Aquarius, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. I feel a little naked, I have to say, not being able to see the chat. It's just a big black square. So those thumbs up today are even more important to let me know you're in there and you're still listening. Okay, here we go. Aquarius, rising, thank you. Rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Ooh. Give it a good shuffle. Our first angel is Adriana. The second is Indriel. The third is Caressa. And the final is Opal. Whoops. All right. Adriana is being joined by the Grail Knight, Aquarius. Indriel is being joined by the Bee. Caressa is being joined by the Birth and the Rebirth card. And Opal is being joined by the Wealth card. All right. And just in case there are new people in the chat that I can't see, my name is Teri Hunter and I go backwards. I'm on my second sign, Aquarius, and I'm working my way towards Aries. Okay. This is very interesting, Aquarius, because the Grail Knight represents illusion. And Mercury is squaring Neptune on the 22nd. This is going to be going on for a while, and that's going to really highlight the idea of illusion. And wherever there have been sort of false hopes, and Adriana says she's leading you to the answers to your prayers, to your dreams, Neptune. That would very much be, and your intuitions. This all very much feels like trusting an inner knowing and also bowing down to a deeper truth within yourself, because information may come up over this week and as we go into next week's eclipse that, breaks up an illusion. And on some level, it feels, as I say that, like you're not completely surprised by this whole idea. It's almost like a confirmation of an inner knowing that gives you a sense of relief, to be honest with you, because in the opportunity, the obstacle is the B card. It represents good luck. It represents industriousness, which is like a little bit of the Saturn in this retrograde area is going to ask me, what's my being energy? And then Indriel's saying to be of light, to be of the truth of who and what you are. And this is the thing about Aquarius. Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, which rules science and space and alien feelings. And this is really where I go to, you are a light being. And as you adopt that energy, you have an opportunity for a rebirth at a much more authentic place, because Caressa is saying that you have a new chapter awaiting you with more happiness as one closes. A lunar eclipse, eclipses bring in fated events, and depending upon where that eclipse, and that's again not happening for a couple of weeks, but the aspects coming up this week with really Mercury squaring Neptune, which is again our everyday activities. Gemini represents, and Mercury, our teammates, our workmates, our community, our everyday environments, our sidewalks, the things we do every day. And then we have a square with Neptune, what we cannot see in Pisces behind us. So there's a closing of that chapter. So as Aquarius, rather than feeling betrayed or feeling somehow disillusioned by that awareness or that illumination, it gives you an opportunity to actually feel a sense of relief and being cared for by God and the angels, so that you can feel a bigger sense of harmonious wealth as you move forward in this restructuring dynamic that Saturn and Uranus are dominating in this year 2021. The restructuring of our lives in a more authentic and liberated way to the truth of our own personal self-expression. So for Aquarius, I think that things are going to come to light, or you'll have an intuitive feeling of things coming to light. And I feel like it's about trusting that, but not pushing up against it. Let the universe work for you so that you don't find yourself in challenging aspects or communications with others. All right, let's go on to our Capricorn, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. I'm going to take a quick sip of my tea. Good morning, small wildflowers, if you're out there. Good morning, Juan, and thank you for texting me. Good morning to all the rest of the tribe members. I kind of want to just guess and say hi to people. I don't know what I did. I think it might be all the planetary activity. All right, Capricorn, here we go. Our first angel is Francesca. The second is Indriel. The third is Xana. And the final is Isaiah. That's very, Indriel's come out now, I guess, 3 times in a row on my third reading. And that really is an activation of the light worker here on the planet. And I don't think being a light worker is actually a rare thing. I think it's more authentic to who we are. So I think that's going to come into play very strongly here as your ruling planet goes retrograde. Okay, Francesca is being joined by the Fire Fairy. Indriel is being joined by the Grail Knight. Xana is being joined by the Spider. And Isaiah is being joined by the Perception card. So Saturn rules Aquarius in ancient times, and it rules Capricorn in general. So it's moving backwards in Aquarius. And I feel like this whole dynamic of being in near its ruling signs, moving back towards Capricorn, even though I know this is not technically a astrological dynamic, there's something that speaks to the idea of, as Saturn is moving back through Aquarius towards Capricorn, it's like it's trying to recapture something from the old times, the old place, trying to, in some ways, recapture old structures and pretend they're new. I don't know why it's coming across that way. That's why it's angels and astrology, because I allow my intuition to lead the charge. So Capricorn, here we go. Francesca says, what do you visualize right now? Negativity will block your progress. And then there's the Fire Fairy, creative action and optimism. It feels a little like the old and the opportunity to go into the new. So Capricorn, what are you focused in on what obligations you feel, on what behaviors are expected of you, what others might have grown accustomed to you bringing into the table of their lives, and starting to ask yourself, does that serve what I want for myself. Because Indriel, the light worker, which makes me feel like we're all being activated to a higher vibration of ourselves, is again asking you to look deeper into any illusions that you may have. If I work hard enough, then people will appreciate me. If you're working so hard that it's gotten out of balance in an intimate relationship, in a professional relationship, within a family relationship, it's time to really start to put balance back into the situation, because it's time to give back to yourself. I feel like there's a little bit of for the Capricorn energy, it's like I'm hoping on some level, if I work hard enough, somebody else will acknowledge that and then give it back to me. And I feel like this is about claiming it for yourself. And I go to relationships because in the angel's advice is Xana, saying you're being protected from all types of harm. And the spider for me is a relationship card, because whatever gets into that web has agreed to nourish the spider in some way. So where are your relationships nourishing you? And are you okay with the idea of being protected from relationships you may be used to, but no longer serve you? Because in the final position is Isaiah saying it's time to give birth to new ideas and new situations, and that has straight up your perceptions. And on some level, I feel like for Capricorn, part of this is not looking for evidence that the new perceptions have some sort of basis or root in the past. It's an innovative idea for me. And this is a little bit what Saturn is offering as it goes retrograde. Now, let's remember that Saturn is stationing. As it stations, it's like 5 times more powerful. So here it is, the planet of restriction, pulling me into this stationary position. I kind of feel like the universe, again, is putting this time out. So for reflection, and not for judgment, not for criticism, but for assessment. And is this what I want the pattern of my life to be moving forward? Because if indeed there are dynamics that you've been working on or been experiencing, and you sort of like, well, that's the way it is. That's just the way it is. It's not necessarily the way it has to stay. That's why Saturn and Uranus are making such a huge aspect in 2021 of breaking down the old, but not destroying it. Keeping what is still viable and then moving that forward innovatively. All right. Let's go on to our Sagittariuses. Rising, Moon, Sun, and Stelliums. I miss you all. The chat is lonely and sad in a big dark black hole there. So the only way I know you're around is those thumbs up. So I'm getting a little greedy today, if you don't mind. Because I don't like being in a vacuum. I like seeing you all interacting. That's my Libra sun. All right, here we go. Sagittarius, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is Chantal. The second is Caressa. The third is Isaiah. And the final is Crystal. It looks like love is in the air. Let's see how that's going to look. You know, Mercury retrogrades oftentimes bring back old lovers. So let's see if that's what's happening, or if there's a shift in your love life or in your perception of your love life. Oh, we have the Goblin joining Chantal. We have Caressa joining the Lady of the Lake. We have Isaiah joining the Fire Fairy. And we have Crystal being joined by the Transformational Death card. Okay. Chantal represents relationships straight up, relationships with either a newcomer or in existing relationships. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull a clarification card on the final position because I want to offer it this way. Sagittarius, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. The Goblin in connection with Chantal to me very much is feeling like, where am I edging God out in my love relationships? And in some respects, I feel like this goes down to, what is my philosophy about love? What do I believe about love? And how much am I willing to transform that into a dynamic that serves my own personal evolution? You know, when we start our love lives, usually we start them, you know, at a very early age where love is very naive in some respects. And we have this kind of view of humans as being, we don't tend to see their flaws when we fall in love when we're young. We see this sense of perfection and we grasp at it. And I feel like there's an opportunity for Sagittarius to really look at deeper truth of that we're all fabulously flawed human beings. And as I check into that, it's not about forgiving somebody's flaws to the point to my detriment, but to looking for balance so that I can actually start to focus in on a new, happier chapter. Because I want to offer it this way. When I look at Chantal and I think about the Mercury retrograde squaring Neptune, you may, Sagittarius, be disillusioned or find out something about your partner or your love life, or that just hits you in a sort of challenging way. And I feel like if it hits you, let's just say, Sagittarius, that you've had a breakup and you find out your old boyfriend or girlfriend has moved on to somebody new. You could allow that to hurt your ego. You could allow yourself to think there's a better version of that partner with this new person. Not true. You've got to sort of come back to the idea of, was this relationship serving me? Because Isaiah is saying it's time to give birth to new ideas, and about the fire fairy with his creative action and optimism in connection with courage to see the truth. Because Crystal's saying have faith and hope, there's more on the horizon. There's definitely some sort of breakup going on, and then there's a new beginning being offered. And I want to say it this way, because again, I go back to Chantal, and if you have not been in a relationship, then this is going to have something to do with your interpretation, your perception of relationships, your view of, if you're one of those people that say, oh my God, I'm so unlucky in love. Every guy that I meet turns out to be, blah, or every girl I meet turns out to be blah. That story is a co-creation. So as you are willing to turn that over to God or the angels, I need a new story in love, and I'm willing to put a button on my participation, which is not seeing the truth of the story that I keep telling. And I am willing to give birth to new ideas and new situations. And now I need God and the angels to help me do that, because sometimes experience is so deep that it's hard to shift out of what I've experienced. And this is why I think next week's super moon, it's a blood moon, which, because it's going to be red color in Sagittarius, is going to offer you some sort of culmination in your emotional body. And I want you to sort of think about the idea that I had said earlier in the broadcast, that within the moon's core is this electromagnetic field that protects the earth. It diverts bad things from hitting our planet. So there could very much be this idea that you are being saved or being protected from a situation that would ultimately not make you happy, or ultimately would be repetitive in some way. So surrendering to a new beginning. All right, let's go on to our Scorpios, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. I think the real important things to pay attention to in the way of transits this week is the square between Neptune and Mercury. And I want to ask you to look into your personal natal charts. Where are these planets? Are there any aspects to them? And is the transits actually affecting any of them? With me, I'm more affected, I think, by the Saturn retrograde squaring Uranus loosely, because Uranus not only triggers a trine when it hits my moon, it also triggers an opposition in my chart to Neptune and Mercury. So I bring those all up because we can look at these things and claim the higher vibrations of these planets, or we can fall victim to, oh no, the lower vibrations are going to pull me under. And I don't think that's necessary. And if you think about Neptune, ruling water, you don't fight the storm. You allow yourself to float to the surface and let the water bring you to safety. Okay. Oops, Scorpio, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Your first angel is Aurora. The second is Omega. The third is Teresa. And the final is Serena. And Aurora is being joined by the Goblin. Omega is being joined by the Serpent. Teresa is being joined by the Novice. And Serena is being joined by the Death card. And then we have the Cow. When I get the Death card in the final position, I want to get a clarification card. Okay, Scorpio. You're ruled by Pluto. You also have Mars as your ancient ruler, but I want to focus on the idea that tomorrow the sun is going to be in trine with Pluto, which gives you an opportunity to truly dig deep in how you project yourself and to take a little bit of control in the higher vibrations of Pluto, because Pluto rules what is unseen. And the reason I say go into the higher vibrations is because Aurora says you're flying high right now. Don't descend, that you will soon inspire others, even if they're feeling a little bit prickly right now towards what's going on. And then I have the ego. So this is where I'm going, edging God out. I feel like Scorpio could potentially be flying high because there's this inner knowing or this intuition or this literal knowing of something that is unseen, that is beneath the surface. And those around you may not be aware of it or be able to intuit it or be able to see it. And your job is not to fall into their lane and buy into what they're saying, because your victory comes. This is your opportunity and or your obstacle because of the knowledge you have. The serpent represents healing and knowledge, and this knowledge can very well be an intuitive knowledge. Scorpio is a very intuitive sign. It rules detectives. It rules anything that is not seen visibly with the naked eye. So we can't see our interior, our organs. We know they're there, and yet the surgeon can go in what we cannot see and fix things, because, you know, Scorpio rules that too, surgery. So, and I bring that up not because of the surgical aspect, but because this is an opportunity for Scorpio to really stop worrying about what other people think, because other people may be saying, I don't see that. I don't see how that can happen. I don't see. And Scorpio, this is an unstable new beginning based on your intuitions, what you know on the inside, because Serena is, yes, an angel of abundance. And I want to offer it this way too, because if you are endeavoring a project, let's say you're an entrepreneur, let's say you're an influencer, in some way you are implementing or have been implementing something on your own, money will come to you. And there is a transformation coming in a way that really, the cow is abundance, Serena is abundance, and this abundance feels like it has more. It's material, but it's also something inside of me, something that I know. I have this power inside of me now. I'm aware of my own co-creation. And as a result of that, I can actually see my ego and not villainize it, but rather work with it. And when it's going crazy, we're in danger, we're in danger. We can say, no, don't worry, little ego. God is taking care of us. God and the angels will see to our abundance. Our job is to align to the ebb and the flow, because constant movement forward is erosive. We need this sort of ebb and a flow in order to feel a true thriving. And these squares, we literally have the beginning of the week. We have sort of these trine aspects giving us this favorable feeling of support from the universe. And then the support goes into sort of this tension. And I feel like sometimes the human feels like when good things are happening, oh no, the rug's going to get pulled out from underneath me. And then this is where you get to really dig deeper and say, that's just an old story. If for some reason the rug moves, then this was to illuminate something or to clean out what was underneath the rug. All right. Hope all those metaphors worked for you guys. I'm going on to Libra, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. For those of you that are new in the chat, I can't see you today for some reason. I don't know what happened, but I go backwards. I start at Pisces and I work my way towards Aries. I am on Libra right now. Libra rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Okay, and I'm just, a little thumbs up. Let me know you're still out there and you can hear me. That would be awesome. Thank you, guys. I swear, I just feel so naked when I can't interact with you. It drives me crazy. Oops. All right, let's just see what fell on the floor. Our first angel for Libra is Archangel Gabriel. The second is Mystique. The third is Chantal. And the final is Francesca. Very interesting. Archangel Gabriel for me would represent Mercury. She represents communications, which our whole world is these days. So let's see what's going to happen here. Archangel Gabriel is being joined by the protection card. Mystique is being joined by the frog. Chantal is being joined by the raven. And Francesca is being joined by the dog. Wow. Okay, so this is pretty cool. And I want to say it this way because Libra represents partnership, and oftentimes when people talk about Libra, I feel like they get stuck in one lane. It's all about marriage. I disagree. I think it's about diplomacy. I think it's about harmony. I think it's about how we show up in partnerships. And I feel like right now for Libra, and I'm a Libra sun, I feel like I want to look at that Venus trining Saturn this week. And I talked about money earlier, and I do think that's the primary energy for the most part. But I do think that, I've told you guys, I'm a Libra sun. I'm 61 years old, almost 62 in October, never got married, never had children, and I'm not crazy. I'm just acutely aware of what makes me happy, and I don't want to be unhappy. So I've had to ask myself recently, do I believe the story that love is viable for me? Because that's what I think is going on here. I think Libra, Archangel Gabriel is asking you to take any insecurities you have about your partnerships, about feeling viable, about feeling seen, about feeling communicated with in a balanced way, and about feeling cooperated with, not just you perpetrating cooperation and harmony, but receiving it back. And then we have the protection card. There we go. And I look at the number 38, which reduces down to an 11, the master number of thought. So your protection, quote unquote, doesn't come from being vulnerable to something dark happening to you. It comes from your own way of thinking. And this is Mystique saying to keep charging ahead, to expect miraculous solutions. And I always think of Gloria Estefan's coming out of the dark and into the light. Mystique is not a card of accomplishment. It's a card of process. And this process is realizing that I maybe as a Libra am in the perfect vibration now to be the person I want to be in partnership, rather than giving up my power or being overly dominant in my power, because the frog represents cleaning up the house and releasing of emotional baggage. And so when I think about myself as an Aries rising and a Libra sun opposite on the wheel, Aries is very aggressive in its lower vibration, very blunt, a little bit unfeeling in, communicating. And I've been that way. So maybe the timing wasn't right. Maybe I had to become 61 years old to be the partner I want to be. Because regardless of your age, the timing is right for you to experience love. And I think that this is not just love of another person, but love of yourself within the partnership. To start to see the magic of what all the raven and the skull. The raven in Native American culture, from my recollection, represents the raven going into the underworld. And then the skull is sort of like this opportunity for rebirth. And this rebirth comes in love. And now it's not about it actually sitting in front of you as much as the opportunity for you to know it is in process. And if indeed you've been in a partnership for a long time and you're saying, well, I've known this person forever, then your opportunity is what do you visualize right now? Negativity will block your progress. And there's the dog, which is about love. Unconditional love, loyalty, and sincerity. And this is in the 4th position. And Archangel Gabriel and the protection card is in the 1st position. This is in the material world. What I want to say for Libra is that whether you're in a relationship or not in a relationship, it is really about how you're communicating about yourself in relationship. And if you've been in a relationship and you have not felt the spark of romance, or you're in a routine of some kind, or you've taken on roles, rather than looking at your partner and saying, well, your role is this, and this is how you show up, and you don't do this for me. It's more about looking at yourself and purporting the behavior you want, and then allowing the universe to take over the inspiration, telling a new story for yourself, rewriting a story. And if you can't tell a good story, don't tell any story at all. There's some old sayings that used to bug me, and now they seem like wisdom from the laws of attraction. You know, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. It's because by not saying anything at all, it's not like you're ignoring what isn't nice. You just don't want to further manifest it. So that's what I think is going on. All right. And Saturn trining Venus this week gives us an opportunity to look long-term. What do we want to experience in our relationships, in our love body? Okay. Virgo, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Here we go. All right. Our first angel for Virgo is Crystal. The second is Serena. The third is Merlina. And the final is Astera. I want to offer this for my Virgos. For some reason, this is coming to me, and it's been coming to me a lot lately. But right now, as I do the Virgo reading, it's hitting my mind. Whatever house you're we know the rising is always the first house, but say you're a Virgo sun, Virgo stellium, or a Virgo moon, look at the house it's in. If you're a Virgo stellium and let's say it's in the 11th house, then a lot of that's going to have 11th house energies in combination with Virgo. So it's going to be about the bigger picture, about, Aquarian type things. Look there, because I think that'll give you a clue as to where this transformation is coming from. Because there's definitely transformation afoot for us all. All right, Virgo, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Crystal's being joined by the eagle. Serena's being joined by the bear. Merlina's being joined by the high priestess. And Astera's being joined by the forgiveness card. Crystal says, have faith and hope. There's more on the horizon that you can't see. And then the eagle is here representing the connection to the angelic realm. It represents spirit. It represents integrity. And I want to offer it this way because in the Kyle Gray deck, we see Father Sky and the eagle together on the card. And the eagle is in very much a position of, it almost looks as if it's about to grab a fish out of the water. It's in a very active, energetic energy. And this particular eagle sits calmly. And I feel like for Virgo, there's a part of you that is experiencing the comfort of spirit leading the charge for you. Mercury is your ruling planet, as it is Gemini's, and it is squaring Neptune, which is a spiritual dynamic. So this week, there could be very much the idea of confusion, of murkiness, of unknowing, and then having to take that energy and rather than go into that really earthbound mercurial, oh no, I need to get the information, I need to know now. It's about digging deeper. And what does my heart tell me? What does my soul tell me? What does that inner knowing tell me? Because the waters will be murky. And I think your history may get triggered because Serena is the angel of abundance, and there's the Baird. The Baird represents my story and also the enchantment of storytelling. So Serena being the angel of abundance, but where that abundance is coming from is the momentum of the laws of attraction and implementing my team, my heavenly team, to help me. And this is where you have an opportunity to rewrite this story. This is where this square between Neptune and Mercury can start to set a foundation, even though it feels tense. Because some of you, it may not be about straight up money, it may be about your profession. It feels like it has something to do with your everyday activities. I don't necessarily go into your love life, but I feel like this is very much about the version of what you want for yourself versus maybe what you're experiencing. Merlin is about confusion and indecision, needing more research. And that's in the material world. And then here's the High Priestess, which is all about my intuitive knowing. So I feel like between Crystal and the eagle, and in the angel's advice, this inner knowing, this research you get to do comes from your own version of what you want for yourself and your willingness to dig into your intuitive body, to know that everything that you need in the way of possessions, resources, dynamics, people, opportunities will present itself when you start telling a new story. Because in the final positions is Stera saying to reach for the stars with your dreams and desires and not to compromise. And then there's the forgiveness card. And for me, this is always a reconciliation. And the reconciliation is an understanding of the challenge that brings me into an experience that then empowers me to be a more intentional co-creator. So I go from this unknowing into a place of knowing through unknowing experiences that anchors me into my Virgo. I need this in the practical world. I want to see it. I want to depend on it. And Spirit says that can happen. But it first has to start in the darkness of the unknown. And then we go into the idea that there is a lunar eclipse this next week, I should say, on the 29th. And while it's not necessarily in Gemini, it is a lunar eclipse in Sagittarius, which represents our belief system, our philosophies. So I feel like this teeing up of the Mercury squaring Neptune, the spiritual dynamic, the 12th house dynamics of what is unseen, what is behind me, and what I can only know when I trust my inner knowing. And that seems to make sense because then I start to see it manifest as I move forward in this year. Okay, let's go on to our Leos, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. All right, Leo, here we go. Our first angel for Leo is Seraphina. The second is Serena. Boy, is money coming up a lot this week. Wow. Our third angel is Archangel Michael, and the final is Rochelle. You know, as I start to pull this spread, I can't help but think that this Uranus and Saturn theme of this year is giving so many people opportunities to be entrepreneurs, influencers, doing their own thing and making money. And then I think about the idea of Leo representing our personal creations, our hobbies. It's a very personal dynamic, Leo. The fifth house is about our children. It's about our romance. And it is in opposition to Aquarius, which is all about the outside world and humanity. So I almost feel like there's this cooperation. As I honor my own heart and I follow my heart, I actually am breaking ground for other people that may be stuck in a loop of an old dynamic where in order to make money, I need to serve someone else's agenda. Seraphina is being joined by the Forgiveness card, Leo, Rising, Moon, Sun, and Stelliums. Serena is being joined by the Dog. This is awesome. Archangel Michael is being joined by the Fire Fairy, and Rochelle is being joined by the Grail Knight. This is so cool. So Seraphina talks about a happy change to your family. And the Forgiveness card is never about forgiveness for me. I don't want to say I'm not a forgiving person, but it has been a rare dynamic where I have worked with another human being who is genuinely sorry about something. In my story, most of the time I get, a big bird, meaning, sorry, that's just who I am. So this is what I'm saying. This Forgiveness card turned into reconciliation. It turned into a dynamic where an experience that was distasteful became tasteful because I learned or I garnished a tool or a resource. And that's what I think is happening for Leo, because Seraphina says a happy change is coming to your family and it's going to reconcile a challenging experience. In the opportunity, the obstacle is Serena saying that abundance is coming to you, and there's the Dog. Unconditional love, loyalty, and sincerity. I feel like this is an opportunity for Leo to start to implement either ideas or dynamics. And I want to offer it this way because implementation, I know Saturn's going retrograde, Mercury's going retrograde. Implementation starts with my being energy. It starts with what do I believe? And I believe if I love it, it is supported by God and the angels. And Archangel Michael is confirming that because he's the angel of protection, but he's also in this particular deck asking you to have the courage to make the life changes that will bring you into this energy of optimism, of feeling excited in the idea of inspirations. And all of that happens as a result of following your heart, bowing down to the deeper truth of what you want. So let me explain this to you. When I was growing up, again, need I say how old I am? 61 years old. There was no, doing the work I do was freaking crazy. People were voodoo, they were, against God, etc. And now as time has rolled on, people are much more aware of energy. They're much more engaged in a bigger story. So for me, as I honored and followed the guidance of my heart, I came into some challenges. But when I started to realize that the universe was working for me, the evolution of mankind was working for me, and if I didn't let age mess with my head, I had a lot of happiness ahead of me. So I started to break down the illusions that if I was married, I would be happy. And that's not true. I'm not that way. I'm an Aries rising. So unless I'm married to the right partner, it's not going to make me happy. So as I started to follow the guidance of my heart, I started to feel reconciliation and I started to feel more peace of mind. That's what I think is going on for Leo. And I think that Leo, being ruled by the sun ruling the zodiac, it's almost your job to follow your heart so that you can lead the rest of us out of the dark. And when I say the dark, it's where Saturn in its lower vibration messes with our mind and tells us we need to do that work because we need to pay the bills. And I believe that Leo says, I can pay the bills when I'm following my heart. I can make money at that. I watch a lot of reality television and I've been introduced, although I don't know this person, to Addison Rae. Apparently she's an influencer on TikTok. She's a dancer. I don't know her videos or her TikToks at all. But I do know that as a result of her doing that, she ended up on the Kardashians because I watched Keeping Up with the Kardashians, which then gave her more exposure and opened her platform. These are the kind of things I'm talking about, this individual expression that then leads to abundance. That's your job, Leo, because that's how you help the rest of us do that. That's how you bring it back to the collective. All right, on to our Cancers, Rising, Moon, Sun, and Stelliums. I'm gonna ask again for some thumbs up. Let me know you're still in the room. I can't see the chat today for some reason, so I'm a little blinded by the darkness of my chat. Thank you for any thumbs up. Let me know you're still here. Whoop. Okay. This is our Cancers, Rising, Moon, Sun, and Stelliums. And if you are late degree Cancer, pay attention to the idea that Pluto is in opposition to you now in Capricorn. So you're still going through some transformation as well. It does not have to be negative. All right, Cancer, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is Xana, the angel of protection. Our second is Archangel Gabriel. The third is Crystal. And the final is Patience. So as I'm shuffling for my Cancers, as I look at the angel spread, I feel like retrogrades are all about review, rest, relaxation, reevaluation, anything that allows us to revisit an idea. And so for Cancer, Xana is offering us protection. It's being joined by the Spider. Archangel Gabriel is being joined by the Joy card. Crystal's being joined by the King. And the Patience card is being joined by Love. I've been feeling for such a long time that Cancer is very much, since COVID started, of all the signs, I felt like Cancers are the most affected emotionally by the isolation and the lack of being able to be with loved ones, or the lack of being able to pursue your love life. So Xana is telling you that you're protected right now from all kinds of harm. And the Spider is offering relationships. And I want to say it this way because the Spider, for some reason, has always been a relationship card for me. It speaks of creative projects on the outside of it. I think that's because the Spider builds the web. But when I see the web, I see the network. I see the idea that whatever gets in the web does not come out. So I want to offer Cancer the idea that your relationships are being protected, even the ones you're not experiencing yet. Because as you speak joyously of what it is you want to experience, and I want to say this for all my Cancers, I think that the King in the angel's advice is representing the partner, and Crystal saying have faith and hope there's more on the horizon that you can't see. So I don't care who you love. I think the King is representing whoever that may be. This is justice. This is fairness. This is represents legal. It also represents karma. So as you know, I contracted to have this dynamic, to experience these relationships at this time. And whatever challenges I've been going through are only making the idea that these relationships are so important to me. And I'm going to experience joy because Patience is saying that now is a time to study and gather information. And then there's the Love card. Cancer, I believe absolutely that if you are not in a relationship, it is on the docket. It is coming, and these squares, these eclipses, they are not here to pull the rug out from underneath you, but to usher in these new experiences. And now part of your job is to speak that which you want to experience, not that which you have experienced. And the speaking mostly in your own mind, in your own heart. Up until now, I may not have been in healthy relationships, but from here on out, healthy relationships are my opportunity. And what I'm going to do is muse on those healthy relationships. And I want to offer this again. The moon rules you. The moon is a nurturing, protective energy. And I can't help but go back to this. I don't remember all the exact scientific terms, but I absolutely remember being in awe of the idea that the moon protects the earth. That the moon, this little node, has this ability to have so much power. The nodes of the moon represent our past lives and what we're stretching for. So as you allow your ruling planet to nurture you, to know that you're being protected and that your relationships are being nurtured, and your job is to talk of joyous, amazing things because it is your right. It is your life path to experience these things. And I want to, again, if you're new to my show, if you have forgotten I've said this, I believe that there's an activation happening right now. I believe as we're moving into the age of Aquarius, as all these squares and all these dynamics of 2019, 20, 21, and moving forward are breaking the old, it is to restructure. It is to activate. So where there has only been beauty revered, youth revered, money revered, material things revered, this is all going to shift. And we're going to see more people as they age and the wrinkles on their face become more apparent. The joy in their heart is going to supersede all of that. It's going to eclipse that and be what everyone is striving for. So I think that while we'll always revere beauty, we're going to redefine it. And you're a part of that. So please, Cancer, I want to encourage you to focus in on love and not the lack thereof, but the opportunities that it will present. And that you have been preparing yourself to be the partner, to be the recipient of that love in the way you want to at its highest vibration. All right, let's go on to our Geminis. Gemini, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. As I'm shuffling, the very first thing I hear is that Gemini, be mindful of slowing down your communications this week. And I want to offer it this way. It's not about slow. It's about the idea that Mercury is going to be squaring Neptune. And if you are in some ways think you're communicating clearly, it may not be as clear on the other side. So you may want to just be a little bit more mindful. Neptune squaring Mercury, and Neptune being in Pisces. Pisces is water, Neptune is water, things are murky. It's so interesting how sometimes I say things and I think I'm saying them very clearly, and the person that I'm saying them to, I've either triggered a thought in their head or I've talked so fast that they're missing the concept. So that's where I'm going. Don't know why. Let's see if the cards back that up. Our first angel is Desiree. The second is Archangel Uriel. The third is Athena. And the final is Xana. So we know that Mercury is going to go retrograde next week. We know Saturn's going to go retrograde. So they're both slowing down. They're both starting to get into that very sort of draggy energy is the word I want to use. Desiree is being joined by the restriction card, Gemini. Archangel Uriel is being joined by the Earth Fairy. Athena's being joined by the Owl. And Xana's being joined by Merlin. Okay, so Desiree talks about conditions being unfavorable, and then there's the restriction card. We know that we have the Mercury and Neptune square, but we also have Saturn in a loose square with Uranus. It's the theme of the year, and Uranus is the higher octave of Gemini. So I feel like this particular week, really, I mean, when I said slow down your communications, I'm kind of not kidding. And I don't mean, I mean just being extremely careful not to let stress or deadlines or agendas put you into a bum's rush, to really allow yourself a pause so that you can effectively communicate, move, receive communications. Because in the opportunity or the obstacle is frustration in the form of Archangel Uriel. It's also unforgiveness and anger. And then there is the Earth Fairy, which represents Taurus to me. And we know that Uranus is in Taurus right now. So this is where we're seeing this square happening. I think right now that it's like a 3-degree square, but as we get closer towards June, we're going to see that square between Uranus and Saturn become exact. I feel like this is going to have an effect on you because it's going to really encourage you to decipher what is working for you and what is not working for you, where you are purporting old behaviors, thinking that, well, if I just keep working hard, eventually my boss is going to notice and give me a raise. I don't know if that's true, because in the angel's advice, Athena is saying to lovingly assert yourself. But in doing so, now we have the Owl asking us to decipher between wisdom and deception. And when we are frustrated, we may be in a more deceptive place. Now we talk about the idea of Mercury being squaring Neptune. I feel like a harper right now, but if we look at the idea that Pisces is the natural 12th house, there's something behind me that I can't see, and it's underwater. somewhere in my everyday activities, everything that Mercury represents, my thinking, my speaking, my reading, my teammates, my workmates, my community, my neighbors, something is out of alignment. And I feel like if you jump into action, you're going to have to redo something, or you're going to be walking through a little bit of something you're going to have to clean off the bottom of your shoe. But overall, I believe you will be protected, because that's what Xana offers. And then there's Merlin, alchemy, justice, and balance. And I feel like that alchemy, justice, and balance comes through your willingness to actually not take action. Mercury, like Mars, is going to want to move. Let's get it on. We got things to do. We got places to go, people to see, communications to have. And I think slowing things down this week and really looking, what are you submerging yourself in? If indeed you're concerned about certain things going on in the world and you're watching a lot of news, is it too much news? Is it changing your attitude? Is it inflaming you? Is your sense of justice being rubbed up against, and in doing so inflaming you, which is inadvertently putting your co-creation attention in the direction you don't want to go? So I want to offer this as an example. You're a Gemini and you're frustrated at work, and then you find a coworker who's frustrated at work, and you start talking about how frustrated you are at work. And then next thing you know, you come back from lunch after having this conversation even more lathered up in your frustration than you were before. Pay attention to that. And while that coworker may not be a bad person and you're not a bad person, is this conversation, is this line of thought, is this lane taking you where you want to go? Because right now, with all of these dynamics, meaning these squares, this lunar eclipse coming, these challenging dynamics, they could be teeing you up to start to have a new perception of things, and to see that maybe disruption is working for you instead of against you. So be mindful, and be mindful of who you allow to influence you over the next week or so. All right, let's go to our Tauruses, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. And for the 20th time in this broadcast, I'm going to remind you, I cannot see the chat, you guys, so I hope you're all still there. If you are, a thumbs up would be cool, Mundo, so I know you're still listening. Here we go, Taurus, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. All right, Taurus, our first angel is Layla. The second is Athena. The third is Crystal. And the final is Mystique. Layla is being joined by the Disruption card. Athena's being joined by the Wealth card. Crystal's being joined by the Water Fairy. And Mystique is being joined by the Communications card. I'm a Taurus moon. Taurus, I actually really enjoy being a Taurus moon. Taurus is a steady energy. And it has endurance. And it doesn't like a lot of change, kind of likes familiarity. And depending upon what house your moon is in, if you're a Taurus moon, is going to tell you a little bit deeper about how you respond to things emotionally. But I want to offer this, because for those of you that are Taurus, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums, the Uranus transit going on has probably created a lot of disruption in your life and continues to. And I want to offer it this way, because this disruption card feels like the doorway to my dreams. And when I'm brave enough to actually say to Spirit, to start to really talk about what my intentions and my desires are. Oftentimes when I perceive people praying, they pray in challenge. Dear God, please help me with this. Please get me out of this mess. Oh, dear God. And I feel like this is the opposite now. This is about actually spending some time praying or speaking to Spirit in a way that projects a new experience. and not from a place of begging, but rather from a place of powerful co-creation. This is the harmonious wealth card for me. It has nothing to do with money. And Athena is about asserting myself. And I feel like for my Tauruses, you know, having Uranus transiting on my moon, which is going to be happening for years. Okay. My transits are not small transits. They're these long Pluto transiting my Mars, my ascendant, my sun. I mean, it's going to go on to like 2024. And then Uranus is doing all of this. And I think about it and I go, am I going to be like sitting here for all this time? No, it's about me being more authentic, liberating myself, revolutionizing myself from old stories. Disruption is the doorway to my dreams when I get real about what those dreams are. And those dreams, it's time to use my Taurus energy to assert myself and be willing to do the work of the ox, of the bull, and really steady lifting of that dream in the midst of the unknown, because it's my emotional body that's leading the way. It's how I feel. And it's where I've been as a Taurus, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. It is what you've been calling forth. And this is the challenge, I think, because some of the things you've been experiencing have provided a certain amount of security. They may not have been fun. They may not have been anything that you like, but you knew them. You were familiar with them. And now you have to be a little unfamiliar to get familiar again, because Mystique is saying to keep charging ahead, to expect miraculous solutions. And miracles are simply alignment. So this is a process, and the process is constant communication. And what am I communicating? I've had some challenges in the home front. I have had the Capricorn activity is actually opposing my home sector. My fourth house is Cancer. So I've had one challenge after another with other people outside of my home. So what I started to tell myself is that I'm powerless over this thing. And I start to find my frustration growing, and fairness isn't happening, and people are not believing me for some reason. And I'm like, never tell a lie. Well, maybe never is never a lie, but I just don't lie. So I started to ask myself, am I getting caught up in this challenging dynamic of me believing that people are not supporting me? I need to disrupt that idea. And I said to Spirit yesterday, I'm powerless over this situation. I need you to take care of it for me. And that's where my real power lies. That's where my wealth lies, is in trusting that maybe there's a bigger picture here. And that bigger picture is that I'm not a victim to this situation. Maybe I'm a facilitator. Maybe I'm a facilitator of balance, not just someone else's balance, but my own. Not only my ability to communicate fairly and calmly and succinctly, but my ability to communicate to myself that I deserve other people's support. I deserve their believing me, because Crystal is saying have faith and hope, and this is have faith and hope in your emotional body, in your intuitive body. And it's all about communications. How do I communicate with myself and with others? Taurus sometimes will get a little pushy. It knows, so it's like, come on, let's move. And other people don't move as fast. Then we go into this retrograde season. So I want to offer to Taurus. I feel like if you're willing to sit back and take a deeper look into the story you're telling yourself, because if all you're focused in on is the disruption, then you're telling the story of the disruption. What if you're telling how it feels to Spirit once the disruption is over? So for me, the challenge is that I feel peace in my home. I feel safe in my home. I feel cooperation within my neighborhood, within the dynamics of my home. And I continue to tell that story regardless of my results right now. Because as I continue to tell them that story, then miracles start to appear. And then I start to have an experience that anchors me into a dynamic that allows the upcoming eclipse season to bring in experiences that truly shift my life into the things that I want versus the things that I have had. All right, let's go on to our final sign, Aries, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Okay, here we go. This is our final sign for today. I hope I can see the chat when I replay this. I'll keep my fingers crossed for y'all. I hope you're talking to each other. I have no way of knowing. All right, Aries, our first angel is Xana, the angel of protection. The second is Grace and Antoinette. The third is Maya. And the final is Archangel Uriel. Well, I think I just mentioned in my Taurus moon my frustration with my home. And now my Aries rising is going to get to learn how to know that I'm being protected and that my frustration just adds to my vulnerability and my lack of compassion. Xana is being joined by the dog, loyalty, love, sincerity. Grace and Antoinette is being joined by the perception card. Maya is being joined by the Lady of the Lake, and Uriel is being joined by the Death card. I gotta say, this feels really good. As an Aries, I'm a very clear woman. I can't tell you how often I've heard a man tell me I'm intimidating, and it's so frustrating because I'm just very clear, and I'm very clear in my way of communicating. And I feel like when I look at this spread and I look at the dynamics of Saturn and this loose, we're going to do this all year long. I'm going to talk about it all year long. Uranus liberating me from old limiting thoughts in the sign of Aquarius and in the sign of Taurus. This is the way I think, rooted into my world. And then we have this Mercury retrograde squaring Neptune, really about illusions, about even the stories that we've told ourselves, because I feel like when I look at this, I'm not being protected from love. It's my job as an Aries to see how love is protecting me. And in some ways, it's also about looking at the dog. And, anybody who has a dog knows that a dog doesn't harbor anger or frustration. It pretty much lives in the moment. So I think that a lot of what Aries has is an opportunity to look at their perception, and rather than being judgy or critical of yourself or others, this is about compassion for self and compassion for others, because we're all just learning how to be more courageous in our truth. And Aries may be slightly more courageous because they have that little bit of that loner. I don't mind being by myself. I don't mind, pioneering out on my own. And I do think that there's an opportunity for Aries to have a death to their frustration, a death to their anger, a death to, and when I say death, I really mean transformation, looking for the wisdom in the frustration, looking for the wisdom in your anger, looking for the co-creation. Because when we pay attention, and, I've heard these old sayings my whole life, when you love something, set it free, blah, blah, blah. I don't need you, I want you. And they're contrary feelings. How do you love something and not need it? And so what I'm trying to say is that for Aries, I think this week it's going to be so much about how you talk to yourself, how you talk to others, how you have inadvertently put expectations of others acting like you, and maybe you won't see it like that anymore. Because I'm so upfront, I want other people to be upfront in their communications with me, and it's not difficult for me to hear hard things. If I've been abrasive to someone, I would like to know it so I can change it. But it's not always easy for everyone, and that's why I think Aries is having this opportunity to take these dynamics of these transits and using them to your advantage, taking that pioneering, authentic, blunt energy, and rather than just dumping it at somebody's feet, putting a little finesse on it so you can engage them and enroll them. in your ideas, and in doing so, not only feeling the cooperations of others, but also feeling a cooperation within yourself. So here's the protection from emotional harm. Here's an opportunity to feel more love, as I recognize that my own anger and frustration really needs and gets to have an opportunity for transformation. This weekend, there's been a problem that seems to have a pattern to it. And when the problem shows up for me, there are no resources for me to go to because of the pattern. And I found myself like thinking this weekend, do I send an email every time this happens? Because this person can't do anything about it over the weekend. So they're just going to get 16 emails from me. No, leave it at 1 or 2 or 3, because it was literally 3. And then walk away from your frustration. Now I'm going to pull another card on the Death card. And it's gentleness and diplomacy of the deer. Exactly confirming what I'm trying to say for Aries. This week is an opportunity to express yourself authentically and yet with compassion, being more focused in on how your communication will be received versus how you express it. And in doing so, finding yourself much more powerful, much more innovative, much more influential, and much more calm than you might feel you would be. So, don't get frustrated if you can with the Mercury squaring Neptune. Take a breath and allow, again, for everybody, for all the signs, in that particular case, when Mercury is squaring Neptune, trusting your heart and then asking for validation, because the words coming out of other people and the way you're hearing them may be murky or unclear. All right, that's it for this week. I want to thank you all for joining me. I wish I could have participated more in your conversation. I hope you were being able to talk to each other. Again, I can't see the chat, but I'll look for it in the playback. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm a contributor here on Lotta's channel. I'm here every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. with Angels and Astrology. It is advice for traversing the transits. And if you'd like to get a personal reading with me, my information is in the description below, and you can reach me through Lotta's website in the reader's menu. My name is Teri Hunter. Have a great week, everybody. Sending lots of love, lots of abundance and joy to you, and peace of mind. And I am peace out for the week. See you later.